next day, I spent 8 hours in a van with Jake.
Those ducks. Things would just come out of my head, man, that I don't know where they came.
The more we traveled, the more he confided in me.
And I still don't think. My mother was 13 years old when I was born. Why? Because my dad raped the little girl that was in a room asleep. My dad was going out with my mother's mother. There you go. There's some bones for Jake the Snake.
Jake's father was also a wrestler, Grizzly Smith. Though he was well known, he never reached the heights his son did.
My dad was never there for me. I never lived with my father for a very short time.
In the hour they spent together, the two could barely look at each other.
I would do anything to gain my father's love. And I reached a point, I came out of high school, I was going to go to college, and I said, Dad, I'm going to go to college. He said, good luck. But gee, Dad, thanks, you know. And right then, something inside me said, you know, if you're ever going to get him to love you, you're going to have to be better than he is at what he does. So I went out to the ring, and I jumped in there and got the crap beat out of me. And when I walked back into that locker room, he looked at me and said, I'm ashamed of you. You'll never amount to anything. And walked away. And that's when I gave up my dreams and said, okay, by God, if it's the last thing I do, I'm going to shove this business up his rear. And guess what? I did it. And guess what? It didn't matter.
Well, he's got a lot of good qualities. And he was born out of love, and I still love him.
My stepmother was very jealous of the time that my dad spent with me and my sister. And it drove my sister to the point that she wound up marrying a 50-year-old man, and then a year later being kidnapped and murdered by his ex-wife. And we've never got her body. We know that she was dead because there was enough blood in the car to know that she was dead. The woman went to prison for kidnapping, 10 years. Got out and said, please tell us where the body is. Fuck you guys, we're not telling you shit. You know? And it's always seemed like all my life, it's like there's one gruesome, horrible thing happen after the other. So my stepdad, who I felt very close to, he winds up getting electrocuted in the attic of our house. My mother goes up and finds him. The road really screwed up my sex life at all, man. You go on the road, and you get some type of fame or whatever, and all of a sudden you can have it every day. But then all of a sudden you want to get selective, and then all of a sudden one a day's not enough, then you do 2 a day, then 3 a day, then 2 at a time, then 2 at a time with toys, and then 2 at a time with I'll just watch. And it just gets more bizarre and more bizarre. And it finally gets to a point that when you go home and try to make love to your wife, ain't no way. Ain't no way. Because the mental stimulation is not there. That's bad. That's bad. It's like a joke I see in a book one time. A guy and a man and woman laying next to each other and says, what's wrong? You can't think of anybody else either?
When I caught up again with Jake the Snake, he was appearing in Kearney, Nebraska.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Adams and Jake the Snake Roberts!
So where are you going next?
My daughter, she's doing her master's in psychology. So she's a real freak.
So the next day, we traveled 300 miles to see Jake's oldest daughter, Brandy.
My first marriage was over when she was like 7, 8 years old. And I was on the road. I'd see her a couple of times a year. Not much of a relationship there. It's not that I don't love my children. I do love my children very much. I don't know how to be close to them I don't know how to have that melting of together.
I really feel gypped, you know, by the whole situation. So I made this book, and this is kind of the screen that my father hides behind. And these are actual letters that he wrote me that I tore up and I pasted in here. And this one actually says, "Love, Dad." I mean, they were very few and far between, but I saved all of them, you know. And this is a card. This was when he had gone straight. And it says, "A daughter is a treasure." This is me and my mom at my prom, and it says, "All of my life I wanted Daddy's love, but now I hold on to what is really important. Unconditional love and support from my mom." And the back of it is by a really wonderful poet named Sylvia Plath, and it says, "In the words of Sylvia Plath, fuck you, Daddy." And that's how I felt, and that's still how I feel a lot of the times.